Oh, yeah, no problem. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our weekly Rotary meeting, the second for the month of May. I'm your moderator for today. And so let's see. No, the head table is complete. Very good, very good. So I'd like to start the meeting, and we'll request our President Michael Escalier to call the meeting to order.
Good afternoon to everyone. Thank you for joining us. With your permission, may I call this Rotary Club of Makati meeting to order.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. So with that, I'd like to call our invocator for today, President nominee Keith Harrison, to the podium for the invocation.
Please rise. Will you please bow your heads with me? Let us pray together. Let us welcome our guests and Rotarians, our club members and the members of other clubs here today with open arms. May we prove ourselves worthy citizens of our country, devoted to truth, sincere in fellowship, given to service, and confident in faith. Preserve us to these ideals. Let us offer thanks for our food and those who prepared it. Let us offer blessings for one another. Let us be a source of hope for those in need and contentment for those who are lonely. In this month of May, Rotary Youth Service Month, let us be reminded to support the development of youth in our community. Indeed, I'm very pleased to see that there are many people here today who are a little bit younger than me and fit into that category. Let us give gratitude for our opportunity to serve as we imagine Rotary. Let the feelings of love, kindness, and the Rotary spirit always be reflected in our actions. For this we pray. Amen.
Thank you very much. I'd like to request them to remain standing for the Philippine National Anthem. Thank you. Now for the RC Makati hymn.
We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're succeed. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, and together we stand proud. We are leaders with integrity, always ready to serve humanity, always living by the four-way test, building goodwill and peace along the way, giving hope to the world. We're the Rotary Club of Makati, giving hope to the world. The Rotary Club of Makati.
Excellent singing, guys. Next, I'd like for everyone, all our Rotarian friends and colleagues to recite the four-way test. This is a tradition that we now have every week. First, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you very much. Yes. Thank you. Next, I'd like to greet our birthday and wedding anniversary celebrators for the first few weeks of May. From the Rotarians, our birthday celebrators are Gail Del Rio on the 12th of May, Reggie Ponferrada the 13th of May, PG Sid Garcia the 15th of May, PP Tito Panlilio on the 17th of May, Dr. Julian Lim on the 19th of May, and PP Fred Nasser on the 22nd of May. Among our Rotarians, the birthday celebrators are Terry Tambunting, May 9th. Happy birthday, Terry. Kathy Sia, the 14th of May. Maribeth Del Rio, the 16th of May. And for wedding anniversaries in May, we've got PP Eddie and Deli Yap on the 10th of May. Congratulations, Eddie. Anniversary, don't forget, Eddie. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. So what I'd like to do next is acknowledge our dignitaries, aunts, and guests who are joining us for this meeting this afternoon. Let me start with the dignitary here, which is by the name of PDG Pepito Bengson. Pepito, past district governor. You're seated at the right table, Pepito. Always at the right table. Yeah, thank you. And for our aunts, we have Anne Yvonne Kwan, who's joining us online. Hi, Yvonne. And guests with us at today's session, we have our two Miss Rotary candidates. Vera Dickinson. Hi, Vera. Good to see you again. And Shaira Rona. Rona Shaira. Yeah, Shaira Rona. Thank you for joining us today. Next, we have the brother of Rotarian, David Aboitis. Nicholas Aboitis. Hi, Nicholas. Welcome. And then we've got the son-in-law of Dr. Porsche Peña, Arman Joseph Kataga. Hi, Arman. Welcome. Welcome to our meeting. And we have Chinky Cordova of Green Ants. She works with our speaker today, right, on the Green Ants project, which we'll hear about soon. And then we have Mr. Alvaro Lon, prospective member. Alvaro, good to see you again. And Philip Palyari, of course, my good friend Philip, my katukayo, also an incoming member of the club. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us today. Next, we have the turnover of the check to our Miss Rotary candidates. I'd like to call President Michael. The turnover of our checks to the Miss Rotary candidates, and of course, our Vice President, Awi Calleja.
Thank you, Philip. We'll call, of course, our treasurer, Tony, and we'll have President Michael. You know, we have two contestants last April 16 for the Miss Rotary pageant. Vera Dickinson, Vera. She was among the 10 finalists in that competition. So let's give Vera a good hand. And then, of course, the first runner-up of that competition is Miss Shaira Rona, our second winner. So in maybe we can ask Vera and Shaira to give a short talk about the pageant or something. Vera first.
So maybe I would just like to take this opportunity na lang to thank everyone. So Miss Rotary is an experience that I will never forget na. So it's a pleasure to represent the Rotary Club of Makati. And I will remember you guys for the rest of my life and the experience. So thank you everyone. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to represent this club. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. And of course, Vera landed again as in the top 10. Now, Shaira was among the top 10, but she also, well, we have to congratulate her. She was the first runner-up last Miss Rotary. So, Shaira, Rona.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So I'd like to take this avenue to thank everyone and give my utmost appreciation for your club support all throughout our pageant, specifically to Press Michael, to Attorney Howie, to Sir Pepito, who really give their wisdom and as well as the messages on how do we really be more competitive into the pageant run. So I'm really thankful for all the opportunities, and definitely the support is not only for the pageant itself, but I think you can also support us to our professional endeavors as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow. Thank you for representing the club as well, Vera and Shaira. With that, let's move on to the president's time. Michael.
Good afternoon, everyone, and it's nice to see all our friends again. Just like the heat we are experiencing this summer, the incoming leadership led by PE Bing Matoto is now in the heat of its preparation for his coming Rotary year. Last Wednesday, May 3, PE Bing Matoto with his incoming directors, officers, and chairman gathered at the clubhouse on a pre-planning session entitled A Bright Future Ahead, planning our Rotary year to cultivate hope and change lives. This time, its third pre-planning session for the incoming term since January. Last Saturday, PE Bing led the RCM delegation who spent their afternoon for the district assembly at the Enduron tent in the BGC. During this weekend, this incoming board will be having a 2-day planning session at Thunderbird Resort in San Fernando, La Union, and we will be enjoying the host, our host, Winston Uy, who will be treating us there. Winston and his wife, Adet Uy, for opening their beach house to us and sponsoring all the meals for the entire activity. Thank you, Winston. With the incoming officers well prepared and ready to go, I am sure the next Rotary year will be again a banner year for our club. Please be advised that we have no meeting next Tuesday, as it will be our service project week. Next luncheon will be on May 23rd. For the golfers, we will be reviving the President's Cup on May 24 at the Country Club in Laguna. We shall have lunch at 12 noon and tee off at around 1:30 to make sure it's not too hot anymore. I hope our golfers can participate in the sports fellowship. May I also remind you to please confirm your attendance at the club awards on June 19, Monday, 6 p.m. at the Camagong Room at the Manila Golf Club. This will be our last meeting and fellowship for this Rotary year, and we hope you and your aunt can attend. Thank you and good day to everyone.
Thank you, President Michael. The next part of our program will be the introduction of our guest speaker today. And I'd like to call David Aboitis to the podium. David.
Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to announce Terry Allen Farris today. Terry is the chairman of premier providers of vocational and professional education and training solutions, Lumify Work Asia Pacific and Lumify Work Philippines. Terry also serves as a board member of Arawana Impact Capital, a B Corp accredited investment management company in Southeast Asia. A board of director member of Green Ants, a producer of eco-friendly construction materials operating in the same region. He is also an esteemed board of trustee member at the Ramon Aboitis Foundation Incorporated, a nonprofit organization committed to elevating the dignity of man by implementing solutions that enable people to achieve their higher levels of well-being, and a Rotarian from the Rotary Club of Makati West. He has over 31 years of experience in philanthropy, corporate responsibility, social innovation, impact investing, and family office advisory. As the former chief operating officer of the Asian Institute of Management, a scientific research foundation, Terry secured what is considered in the history of endowments in the Philippines, the largest single donation given to a Philippine-based educational institution by a Filipino conglomerate. While in Singapore, Terry was the chief development officer for Nanyang Technological University. He managed and ran the family office services for DBS Bank, where he led a team of advisors on family business regarding structuring, investing, governance, and philanthropy. Terry was also the CEO of Unitas Capital, one of the largest social investment banks in Asia. Before joining Unitas, he launched and headed the Asia Pacific Philanthropy Services of UBS Private Bank and Mies Pearson Bank in Singapore. Thank you. It's my pleasure to announce Terry.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is an honor to be here today. Congratulations on winning. Thank you, President. As I sit at this table, old friends that I've known for many, many years, Philip and I usually have Friday morning breakfast. I think over the last 5 years before COVID. So it's a real honor to be here. Today, our topic, if you can just put the topic, is really looking at circular economy. I don't know, does anybody know what circular economy means? Oh, okay, we're going to talk about it today. To get to where we're going to talk today, I'm going to share a little bit about, or we can go back, to my personal story and how I got here. I grew up in Hawaii. Have any of you guys ever heard of Hawaii? It's like the Philippines. In the 70s and 80s, Hawaii went through a huge transformation on looking at environmental issues. And I was growing up there and I had the opportunity to experience it firsthand. Cleaning up beaches, going out into the ocean, taking care of the mountains. And every weekend we would go up the Ko'olau Mountains to the top, or we would go scuba diving or out in the ocean. And I'll tell you that it imprinted in my life how important it is for us to not have plastic everywhere we go. I don't know, how many of you guys are scuba divers? Anybody scuba dive or go out? You guys ever see plastics in the ocean? That is something that we used to see all the time and then ended up disappearing. I got the opportunity to do work with the Nature Conservancy and looking at how to, in the late 90s, how to start making an impact across Asia. And then World Wildlife Fund for Nature. Have you guys ever heard of WWF? Okay. I got the opportunity to help WWF be part of a consortium to look at the heart of Borneo, to take the whole intersection, the middle part of Borneo, and make it a reserve. Now, I don't know, Jakarta now has decided that they're going to build a new capital and part of that. I'm not sure what happened to that, let's keep this eco-friendly, but it definitely happened. And I'll tell you, going around and seeing how 3 different countries could come together to make an impact was incredible. And so that is what has brought me over the years to be involved. I don't know if you've ever heard of Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. I had the privilege to be the Chief Development Officer there for 3 years. And we set up the Singapore Observatory that looked at conditions around Asia on impact of pollution, how did it impact storms, how did it impact, everything that's around us. And it was interesting for them to go into and drill down into coral and and they could see all the history of how water temperatures, how things have changed, and how over the last 30, 40 years, how it's changed dramatically, especially if you look at the Golden Triangle in Indonesia and the impact that it's had. So that's been my personal driver for 31 years to focus on philanthropy and impact. I have to thank the Aboitiz for giving me the opportunity to sit on the Ramon Aboitiz Foundation and on the microfinance to look at how we can make an impact. And to be part of Rotary, I will have to say, of all the years I've been involved with Rotary, the Rotarians in the Philippines make the greatest impact and give back the most. And it's truly an honor. Thank you. To be part of like-minded individuals when we live in a country that there's so much underprivileged young people, children here in the country. The group that I work with right now is called Arawana Impact Capital. I'm on the board. Arawana Impact Capital is part of a larger group started by an individual. It's a B Corp. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a B Corp. A B Corp is like people, planet, and profit, looking at all 3. And we focus on 3 different areas, and I'll talk about that next. So a B Corp, a lot of companies today are starting to look at how to be a B Corp. Patagonia, Tesla. Arawana Group is ranked number 23 in the world on impact. And that's why I wanted to be associated with it, because everybody that works there is very like-minded, very engaging, and looking at how we can make an impact in the world. So when I talk about people, planet, profit, I think that all of you look at, what do we do? Okay, we grow companies, but at the same time, we have employees. All of you are business people. How do you treat your employees? When I was in philanthropy and I would come to the Philippines and I would talk with families of next generation, I would talk about what are your current values and how do you treat your employees? How do you treat your customers? How do you treat your communities? And I think that all of you sitting here have those values. Next. So for the group that I work with, humility is one that's really important. Solidarity, working together, tenacity, because we have a lot of work that has to be done. And each year, each quarter, we bring from our companies all over the world to what we call circle of leadership for us to validate these values. Next. Now, all of you guys have heard of the Sustainable Development Goals. Have you guys heard of that? Okay, that's great. I think every company should try to identify 1, 2, 3, 4 different goals that you would like to accomplish in your life or in your business. And I think with you sitting here, you've already got a number of them already checked off. And so, I'm already speaking to the choir. I don't need to say anything. But for R1 Impact Capital, we look at livelihood, sustainability, education, and financial inclusion. I've had the opportunity to work with microfinance for over 30 years, worked with the Oka family in Indonesia, who were the first family. It was a woman who taught Muhammad Yunus how to do microfinance. It's microfinance built the banking industry in Indonesia. And people don't realize, and it came from Bali, but it came from one woman wanting to make an impact, starting to give out loans, helping to help social entrepreneurs, and helping them to build their businesses. She covered 80% of all the financial banking needs in Bali up to like 1997. Amazing how one person can make an impact. I know many of you have been involved around microfinance. I've been very blessed to be on the Rafi Microfinance that now has over 600,000 women that receive loans and are receiving training on how to build small businesses. And we were talking about that earlier at the table. How can Rotary be involved? How can you make an impact? Sorry if I'm going around my topic, but it's all interlinked. So by having organizations like CARD, and there's a number of organizations that's already out there doing microfinance, partnering, not recreating, leveraging, engaging. We're going to be launching a social women's entrepreneurship awards later this year here in the Philippines. We want to build that and then grow it across Asia, but it will be Philippine based. It'll be run by Filipinos and funded by Filipinos, which I'm quite excited about. Next. So some of the things that we're involved in today, I'll be talking about green ants because it's a great example. Chinky, who's here, can you wave with your mouth? Sorry, didn't mean to. Green ants, I'll talk a little bit about. Lumnify on vocational training. We focus on training over 30,000 people in Australia and Asia on tech training, on cybersecurity. We do 700 courses. And the whole goal is to help livelihood, to help the person learn how to get a better job, to be more educated. I had the opportunity to be the COO at AIM when we launched the School of Innovation, Technology, and Entrepreneurship and set up the data science program. And I have to thank Monsieur Aboitis, Chubby Aboitis, and the Aboit AEV, where they donated, all of 500 million pesos to endow that school, which I believe has transformed, first of all, AIM. It gave AIM to be cutting edge again. And at the same time, it put data scientists, Filipino data scientists in every major company in the Philippines. It took young Filipinos who are maybe making 50, 60,000 pesos to making 240,000 pesos a month. That's quite a cool. And all the schools now are doing STEM, they're doing training, but it came out of that. The last one is Vivo Power, renewable energy. 2 years ago, we bought a truck company called Tembo, and we retrofit them with electric motors for Hilux and Land Cruisers. we're in the process of wanting to set up a battery factory here in the Philippines, where batteries will be manufactured for jeepneys, for trucks, whatever it is. And at the same time, to provide electric motors, all built, put together in the Philippines. So that's kind of the commitment that we have and that's a whole long story about what's happening with the LTO, with our fellow Rotarian running it, and our jeepneys. How do we help transform that? And that's something that we've been involved in. So I'm going to talk for a few minutes about green ants, because green ants, next page. Sorry, I don't have a push screen. Okay, next. Okay, how many of you believe that we have a plastic problem? Hey, how many pieces of plastic do you use every day? Just give me a number. Anyone? Huh? How many? 10? Anybody else? Okay. I went to Thailand. Have you guys ever been to Thailand? And every time you go get some food, they put it in plastic, double plastic, triple plastic. And at the end of the day, you're sitting there and your trash can's full of plastic and you're like, oh man, I feel really bad. That is a huge problem for today. And if you look at, I mean, these numbers are small, 367 megatons of plastic. That's a lot of plastic. Everybody's drinking water. You're buying, you look at your bathroom, everything is plastic in your bathroom, your Head and Shoulders. Well, I don't really use Head and Shoulders, but you know, if they have a Head and Shoulders for men and someone sent it to me and I said, I don't think I used it good enough. So, oh, well, if you look at how much plastic is in the ocean, they say that the plastic in the ocean is like the size of Texas between California and Hawaii. What if the shifts and it all goes to Hawaii? Tourism will go away and they will die. It's just amazing. And if you look at only 9% of all plastic is recycled. 9%, 12% is incinerated. Maybe they're used in Republic cement or something, to use. And how many animals, species, fish die every year? How much fish do you eat? How much shellfish do you eat? And how much microplasm are in those that are going directly into our body? Can you guys tell me in 1 to 10, where do you rank the Philippines for plastics in the ocean? Anyone? You. 1. We are number 1. We're at over 30%. 30% of all plastic in the ocean comes from us. And now, if you go to Indonesia, you go to Thailand, you go to other places, they have plastic everywhere. The challenge is that we have a lot of typhoons, we have water, and it takes all of the plastic that's on the land and it pushes it out. I've done a lot of work in Indonesia. They have a lot of plastic. They just don't have it running down the rivers like we do. But we're number 1. Please go to the next one. So if you look at plastic, plastic is manufactured, we use the plastic, and then into life. And it goes into the dump. That's been the traditional model. I spent 5 years looking for something that we could be engaged in that actually helped to take care of these problems. And I found green ants. Next. And next, one more. Green Ants was a social enterprise started in 2013 by Ram Beneng. He and his wife, he worked for Nestle, and he said, I've got to do something about the plastic. Because it's great that you recycle it, but where is it going? How do we make new products? And he, being a UP engineer, his wife being a UP engineer, they started to develop new products because they looked at and said, Philippines is number one. If you look at how much metric tons that are used every day, that are thrown away, how do we transform that next? So traditionally, we talked about we manufacture, we use it, we throw away, but how do we make change? The sachets, how many of you use a sachet at least once a day? Ketchup, hair shampoo. Everyone's house, my scholars that I go to, their bathrooms have tons of, sachets with shampoo, with soap, everything, the kitchens, everyone, because it's affordable. But there's no value. So the junk shops don't want it. So Green Ant started to look at how do we use that and put that into building products next. And what they started to do is that they went around and started to talk with LGUs, businesses, multinationals, to begin to collect the sachets. And with Connie and Ram being engineers, they set out to make the highest quality eco brick, eco paver that you can find today. Next. And so if you look at to make one eco brick, 100 sachets, 3 by 300 millimeter plastic bottles, all the different plastics, you don't use PET. No, what is it? Which one do we not use? PET. And if you look at the eco brick, so if you're building a house or you're building a building, if you look at the eco brick, it is 670 PSI, 770 PSI to a hollow block that is 150 PSI. So if you're building a 2-story building, you don't really need to add, it can actually hold the weight of the next. I've done construction all my life before, I came to Asia. I used to build houses, build walls and everything. And I've never seen such a high quality. For fire resistance, it can last, it's already way past, it's like 4 hours. You're the expert, I don't know why they have me doing this. The other thing is that we've just launched is a pyrolysis plant, because you can only use so much plastic in building materials, because we only use 5 to 7% of plastic into the concrete, because you can't have a full plastic, brick. So pyrolysis is taking plastic, putting it through a plant, coming out as bunker fuel or diesel or low grade. And this is something that is being used all across the world. It's been used in the Philippines, but because we now have access to so much plastic, we are launching this. We will have full production and we will be able to do 15 tons a day of plastic. And we already have like Pepsi Cola, Shell, and everything. They've already said, we would like to take it from you. We've made sure that it's environmentally safe, that we're not putting out pollutants and everything. But it's one way of not letting it just sit in Mother Earth or going down. Next. So how do you do it? You have to have eco hubs. So you have an eco hub that you collect the plastic. You then have 15 people working where they're doing the concrete. They mix it, they make the brick. I won't tell you the secret sauce to it. And then from there they sell it. But we've got 35 hubs across the country. A lot of them were started through foundations, from organizations that donated money. We've now have a mega hub that we put in so that we can actually work with the bigger housing developments. Ayalas have been using this. All of Ayala malls for the last 3 years, all the plastics are collected. They have an eco hub with us. We process it and then we put it into their landed properties that they're building. We were just recently with one of the big other developers because we've created a lightweight brick that is able to go in high-rise buildings. So collecting it. Trash, there's a lot of bribery, a lot of political issues. So you have to walk very carefully in other people's territory, but to find a way for us to be able to take this and to remove it and actually use it. Next. So how many of you have heard of the Extended Producer Responsibility Act? Philippines is one of the only countries in Southeast Asia that the government now requires companies of a certain size that this year, 20% of all plastics you put out, you have to collect. Someone needs to collect for it. And this is something that I just came back from Thailand from a conference, and they were surprised. They go, we don't know how that happened in the Philippines. I said, well, no one voted on it. It just became a law. But it's amazing. This is a perfect storm for us to get every company to go and to focus on this. So if we can use this extended producer responsible EPR, if we can educate the schools for young kids, if we can work with all the banks, all the microfinance, people who are touching the lives of nonprofits. So at the microfinance conference, I said, look, you have over 1.2 million women who have small enterprises, who have sorry stores. How do we collect the plastic? How do we get it so that the bottom of the pyramid can make 5 pesos per kg or 8 pesos? Chinky here is the mastermind of collecting plastics. And right now, thanks to the appointees in Cebu, we are looking clear across the province that all schools will be educated on it. All microfinance will be educated on it. The governor, the mayor, the councilors, I was there last week to be on top of it. This is a long-term strategy. But if all of us work together, come together, we can transform how much plastic is being put out there. And in 10 years, wouldn't it be amazing that Indonesia and India actually have more plastics than we do? Because our biodiversity of our ocean around the Philippines is important to our food security, our livelihoods. And that's why today I just wanted to share with you some of my thoughts and my experience. I get up in the morning, it's a big task. But if you would like to find a way to be involved, if your company, we now have a lot of the multinationals, they have to deal with ESG. They've gotten rid of their foundations and now it's oh, we deal with ESG. Okay, we will help you. Colgate is one of our partners. We have Nestle. I don't know if we go to the next one, you can see. I get ahead of myself. Sorry, I don't usually read this. I usually hold the mic. I don't look at anything, so I'm really bad. My attention is very short. But all I want to say today, if you can walk away, how do we make a difference? If it's through schools that you own or run, businesses that you have, if you're connected to your local LGU, how do we get them to collect plastic? We're one solution provider, but it would be great if there are 100 like us. Because there is so much plastic in this country, and it's got to be this generation that changes it. So thank you very much. I hope that you guys enjoyed your lunch, but thank you. Please make them simple, okay?
Many plastics do not recycle together. Do you have to segregate plastics? I mean, polyolefins, nylon, PET,
Yep. And I know
PVC.
you're a plastic expert, so I was waiting for you to ask. Yeah, we have every place, every one of our hubs has a sorting. We have to sort everything, and right now it's by hand.
Okay, I'm sure it's a big challenge.
No, it is. And then we've just got a machine that actually takes it takes and removes like the silver inner lining of your chips and, your bags and everything. Chinky, maybe you can explain the machine better than me. Because that's the biggest challenge is how do we deal with those? But everything has to be sorted. Chinky has created new mountains in the Philippines. The mayors drive by and go, can you guys remove the mountain? But we have to sort it by hand. And so, but this is what's great because it gives jobs. We create jobs for individuals in the community. And some of the women that are sitting around, I've been visiting for years, they just have so much fun. They think it's great. They enjoy it. They see the impact that it's making in their community. But it is tedious. We don't have huge, expensive machinery. I would say in the next few years, that can happen here in the Philippines.
That's one thing we have. There's a lot of labor here. Thank you, Terry.
Yes, we got to keep jobs.
Thank you. Bing. P. Bing.
Thank you very much, Terry, for your presentation. I just wanted to comment that I think a lot of your ideas resonate, I believe, with our club. Just for information, as an example, I think last week we had the winners of the Hatch project,
Yes.
Sri Lanka incubation project, where out of 170 entries, 3 were selected for their ideas, and a lot of it involved sustainability, plastics, et cetera, et cetera. No? And one of the things, though, that have come up would be matter of financing. That's why I was inquiring about microfinancing. To what extent Arawana or the Aboitiz Foundation would be of assistance to the club in terms of helping these prospective entrepreneurs who are into the digital space be provided funding? And what particularly could members of Makati Rotary Club, apart from writing checks, which only Michael, of course, can do.
David would just take checks.
Just kidding. But by way of, for example, you mentioned mentoring or coaching. Maybe you give us ideas as to how our club could have a meaningful involvement in this initiative of yours.
For Arawana, we invest between 1 and 5 million. I mean, we're bigger when it comes to that. If you look at microfinance, there's a lot of microfinance organizations around that give you, smaller investments up to a certain point. Aboitiz, Ramon Aboitiz has been for 25 years doing this in Cebu, Mindanao, Southern Luzon. But there's so many that we could partner with. So what I would do if you're talking microfinance, find one that you can partner with. Tell them what sector or where you like to participate or have an interest. Have them help you identify candidates. Mentoring is so important. I've been for 30 years mentoring women organizations and spending just like once a month, sitting down with them and saying, hey, let's take a look. So maybe taking on 8 or 10 of these microfinance small businesses, and each person or 2 people once a month, spend an hour or 2 with them, giving them guidance, giving them some directions, giving them connections. For Rafi Microfinance, we have 16,000 groups of 40 women. And I went to one of the women and they made backpacks out of used material. So I committed for 6 months just to buy 3,000 per month. But it gave them enough capital that today they've grown. Even with our plastic franchise stations, a small plastic collection, you'll be able to do microfinance and have them collecting. So always trying to find business opportunities that can happen at the bottom of the pyramid. But if you have a committee or to get together 4 or 5 of you, find a partner in microfinance that's already doing it here around the area. Look at how you can mentor, because I think that that is the biggest. And then if you feel like that you'd like to contribute, then contribute and engage. It's amazing how hungry these individuals are and are waiting for people to spend a little bit of time with them. But I'm happy anytime you want. I'm just a phone call away. Chinky is always, David, you know, lots of ideas. His brothers just come back, use him, you know. Wait, sorry, I didn't mean to volunteer you so soon. Didn't you just get off an airplane from London? You should be pretty smart. Thanks.
Thank you. Fred.
Yeah, Mr. Farris, I think for as long as there is supply of plastics available,
Yes,
the problem will continue to be there.
always.
So what efforts are being done to reduce the amount of plastics that are made available?
Yeah.
Replace them with something else at the factory level? And what efforts are being done to develop biodegradable plastics?
There is actually quite a movement. If you look at Nestle, Unilever, Colgate, first of all, they're trying to look at what kind of different plastics that can be used. So there's a lot of organizations and associations focused on this out of Europe, US, Singapore, addressing those issues. I just came back from Thailand, and one of the YPO is taking rice husks, which are usually burned, collecting it and making all the containers instead of styrofoam and everything. So we're trying to look at, there's a lot of work around the communities to look at how do we find using seaweed, using rice husks to create other materials that we can use. A lot of pressure is being put on the multinationals because it just pours out. We're trying to talk with Sorry stores who are doing with Grameen and different microfinance to look at how do we take a Sorry store back 30 years ago. When you used to go to a Sorry store, how did you get stuff? Was it all in sachets, which is all in plastics? It wasn't, but it takes time. So there is a lot of effort that's being made to look at getting the multinationals through their ESG to make changes on the types of plastics that they're using, that it can be reused, easy to recycle. There's also looking constantly, there's hackathons in Singapore. I know when I was at NTU, we constantly had sustainability hackathons, SMU, NTU, all of them. The universities like to do this, to have young people to come up with new technology that can be used. We can do that here too. We can do a hackathon and have young people from the universities or anybody to look at how do we come up with alternative instead of plastic, you know, and banning, you know, it's funny. I think plastic bags are banned in NCR, and I live in Bulacan. I go across, and I won't name any stores, but I'll go 200 meters and one will say, okay, you have to use a box to bring your own. The other exact same companies gives me plastic bags. They just need to say no plastic across the country. Hong Kong banned plastic across all shopping. Singapore has done it. You know, we have to do it. We have to find ways of getting people to get used to carrying our own recycle bags. I will tell you that David's aunt always gives me a recycle bag every time. We are really cool. And so I always take pictures and send it to her because they're made out of like Sunkist, you know, she's got really cool ones. So first of all, we need to change our behaviors. We have to help others change. We need to create a recycling mentality, and that's through education now. And that's going to take 10 years with students, 10 years. We've got to get companies to change, because right now, if you ever go to Udemaker, it's a plastic store. You know, you go to any store and walk down the aisle and 90% of the stuff is plastic or in Tetra Pak. And I know that Tetra Pak is doing a lot, right, Chinky, on looking at how do they create, how do they recycle. And this is a major issue. Even on food waste, clothing is a huge issue. We're now looking at how do we take and make materials to make new clothes? Because you guys think about how much clothes you guys used to buy before COVID. You know, every week we buy a new outfit, we put something, and then we just toss it. Well, at least in the Philippines, most people use it. In the US, they just toss it and it's gone. And it's huge landfill. So we have a huge issue on landfill here. We have to do something about it. I think every club should have a committee on environment. I had the opportunity to spend time, almost 18 years, with Gina Lopez. I tell you, what an amazing person. One person. You know, our watershed, not to get on another topic, that gives us all the water in Manila, the new train, MTR, is going right through it. It's probably taking like 25 to 30%. What's going to happen to us having water in this city? That's another topic. So thank you very much. Back in the back.
Well, for the benefit of everyone, we have a landfill. We operate a landfill wherein all plastic materials that are brought to the landfill are actually scavenged out, and it's sold to mostly cement companies, no, for refractory use.
Yeah.
So at least that's one one good thing. In fact, we make it as a CSR, wherein the barangay people around the landfill in Capas, Tarlac take turns scavenging for all the plastic materials and other recyclable materials that they can retrieve from waste coming in. So at least 100% we're able to take out all plastics.
And that
Anyway,
should happen everywhere.
Yes. In the same way that we are helping out get rid of used plastic, we are also one of the big sinners because we have bottled water brand. Okay. And this is where my question is about the products that you presented here as possible byproduct of recycled plastic. What do you think is the most viable, let's say, for plastic bottles? Because we want to initiate a movement to retrieve as much plastic bottles, no? And give an incentive for that, like like paying them 10 centavos or 25 centavos for every bottle returned to us.
Yeah.
And we want to recycle that into something.
Okay.
Now, of course, we can see that there's just so much supply of waste plastic for the demand for it. I am mystified even by how shoes are made now out of recycled plastic. No, even clothes. No, there's a brand. I just forget the name. A big brand in Europe.
Yes.
That makes jackets, shirts out of recycled plastic. But anyway, this is real because we would want to find out a product, and we're willing to invest equipment to produce such a product if at all we can move the product successfully and in volumes.
That's amazing. Chinky, since you're just sitting there and you had a free lunch, you can say a word. What would you advise? Chinky's the head of plastic collection. She creates the mountains and makes things happen.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. So like currently we actually do collect PET bottles, the plastic bottles. What we do is we remove the caps because that can be used with our pyrolysis machine, and then the labels as well. And then the PET, we have a partner recycler who actually upcycles it to a different type of bottle. So that's currently how we work with the PET plastics. There are different, since the different type of plastics actually have different ways to be recycled. What Green Ants is currently doing is really looking for ways and partners as well on how to upcycle each one. So the pyrolysis machine is there for all of the HDPEs and the LDPE plastics that we have. And then the multi-layered plastics are used for our construction materials. So we have eco boards as well that are made from 100% plastics. And then the PET, together with some recyclers who are actually better in recycling the PET bottles, we work with them already, but we collect on their behalf to ensure that these plastics will remain clean and dry so that it can be actually upcycled. Because once the plastics are dirty or are not clean anymore, the probability to recycle them goes down by a lot of percentage. So that's why we really encourage clean and dry plastics.
And we'd be happy to, there are groups in Hong Kong who are around fashion, Rona Chow, those kind of people. If you're looking at clothing and stuff, through the network, we can help introduce different, if there's a certain sector that you would like to focus on, I'm very happy to look around and help you in any way. We have questions.
Hi, as a company, can you tell us about your pipeline? How do you build it? Where do you source companies from? It's really hard to figure economy companies. So
Okay.
how do you
Chinky,
find them?
Go ahead. Chinky's out every day. She's the master.
So currently for our waste collection, so we speak directly to LGUs and establishments who have sustainability as one of their core values. So we try to get these plastics from them. And then, so once we get it, we talk to some of our clients. So we work initially with the group of Ayala for the products. So that's where we do the offtake. So because part of the circular economy is the offtake, correct? So that's what the, sorry, okay. Oh, sustainable companies to invest in for Arwana. Arwana.
How do we do that? We, like any investment bank or any investment group, we go out, we have conversations, we're out all over the Philippines. So if you know anyone that's kind of a social enterprise that falls into the 4 different areas, we're happy to have a conversation with them. If they're looking for grants or they're looking for smaller amounts of money, we can look through the networks that we have and introduce them to. Because if you look at microfinance is the best stepping stone, then comes, you know, people who might want to give grants, foundations after that. Then once they get to a certain size, private investors or individuals give, and then it gets to the larger size where Arawana sits. But we try to help build the whole ecosystem or support it. When I was in Singapore, I got SMU, NTU, and SMU, NTU. Who's the other one? Oh, no, sorry. I hope it's not being recorded. All the universities to work together. We then brought all the banks, and for the private clients, we actually created an angel investor network, and there's one here in Manila that does angel investing. So there's different areas, and so we have to build that ecosystem here in the country. Singapore did it very well. 10 years ago, we set it up. We looked at all of the eco hubs. So a lot of times it's building the eco hubs, innovation hubs, and a lot of companies are now doing that. At AIM, there's an innovation hub. There's probably like 8 to 10 like innovation hubs where startups and everything. So you have to look at and say, are you looking at a normal startup or are you looking for one that does social impact? And social impact, sometimes they're harder to find. And we have to create that platform. I know that this is something that a lot of foundations have done. I know NVP they've done it over the years. We have to do that across the Philippines. So it just doesn't happen overnight. It takes different partners to make it happen.
Thank you.
scientific journal that published a study saying that by 2022, I'm not sure with my numbers, so, but around 2022, textiles and garments will outpace plastics as the #1 pollutant of the world. Given that, well, we're 2023 right now, right? And even if you look at the statistics, 35, the biggest contributor of pollution in the Great Pacific Garbage
Yeah.
Patch is actually garments and textiles.
Yeah.
So, and of course, it's not worthwhile that GA is trying to come up with a way to recycle or probably upcycle clothing. So my question basically is, what's the progress with regards to your efforts to take into consideration or to solve the textile or clothing problem in terms of recycling?
Well, for Arowana, if there are any companies that are already looking at this, we're interested to have a conversation with them. But I'll say on the textile side, it's still fairly young, especially here. You have a lot of the textile families out of Hong Kong who make a lot of the shirts for Old Navy, you know, everything in the US, who now really are taking it seriously. For us, we found green ants to be the one for plastic. We can take it from there, but very happy to look at this and maybe at the government level or even in the business community to have someone really start and collecting and looking at how do we transform that into new materials that we can use. Because yes, that's a huge issue. And all of us love to go to the mall and buy new clothes all the time. But if you guys come across anyone, happy to have a conversation. But thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Actually, I have a question for maybe Jiggy can answer this. So when you get down to the community level, right? How much plastic waste needs to be collected in an area to create a collection hub? And what do the families that do this, what do they get paid? I mean, how do they get paid? Does it vary basis who the sponsor is and all that? What's the economic model for the community that's living in the area?
Currently, what we do when we work with the communities is we, of course, start with the education so that we actually get the clean and dry plastics that we would need. And then initially, it was just giving them incentives. So it's for if a community needs, for example, to improve their walkways, then we provide the bricks. That's the pavers that would be needed. If it's for a school and they need a clock tower or they would need to upgrade their canteens, then we provide the bricks for them. So in exchange. So that was how we started it. But for this coming year, as mentioned earlier, we are actually launching what we call the barangay drop-offs. So here, we will be working with the communities where there will actually be a monetary economics to be given to them in exchange for the clean and dry plastics. And part of it is that Green Ants will guarantee that we will purchase all the plastics that they are able to collect as long as they are clean and dry.
Thank you. And what you paid is a function of it's the same across the country or just where it happens to be and all that?
When we started, it's the same across where we are. So we really inform them immediately of the incentives that we can provide. But usually we don't set it like this is the only thing that we can give because each community would need something different. So we really look into what the community would need. So it could be bricks, it could be money, Or one of the things that we also launched in Bulacan is a plastics to seedling drive. So for each kilogram of plastics, we actually provide them with seedlings, with vegetable seedlings or with ornamental seedlings, which they can use at home or if for the community to, for example, to improve their parks. So it will really depend. But for the plastic drop-off, it really has a specific amount that we will provide.
Thank you. Thank you. Any more questions for Terry or GQ? Okay, if none, thank you very much, Terry.
Thank you, everyone.
Very much for a wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. Oh, that was a great discussion. Anyway, next we have the response from our president, President Michael.
Thank you, Terry, for a very enlightening talk, bringing to our forefront the issue of plastic is really, really important to the world, and we Rotarians are determined to make a difference. So I think maybe we, in our own companies, can gather plastics and call Jinky and see how it can be disposed. I wanted to ask a question. You have a logistics company, trucks that pick up Jinky? Do you have logistics company like trucks who pick up the garbage?
Currently, we do have our own. Sorry. So we currently do have our own logistics that actually do that. But what we also do reverse logistics, because when we deliver to a specific area, the products, then when we go back, we pass by the communities that we work with for the plastics, so that it also becomes economical for freelance.
And you own your own logistics company?
We do have our own logistics, but of course, because there are instances where our trucks are not enough, so we do also work with some partners who helps us with the hauling.
Thank you. Okay, so I think with that, I mean, we all will do our small share to reduce our plastic pollution and even our garment pollution, which Paolo brought up. It's very interesting. I never really thought about that. But thank you very much again, Terry, and thank you for giving us light in this very dark situation. Thank you. On behalf of the Rotary Club, we would like to give you a plaque of appreciation. We also have a book. We also have a book of 55 years of our Rotary history. And while you're reading that, we have a bottle of wine that is not plastic. Thank you.
Thank you. So we'll have a photo up for the folks at that tape, and then President Mike will adjourn the meeting.
So on behalf of the Rotary Club of Makati, I hereby call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.